Welcome everybody. I just want to welcome everybody tonight and thank you for being here. It's late in the evening for a lot of folks, or maybe after work, and so we really appreciate your time and your energy being here tonight. Just want to remind folks that this meeting is being recorded. Um, Everyone will get a copy of the PowerPoint, and we will have an opportunity for questions at the end of the meeting. But also, if you feel like you have a question during the presentation, please feel free to just let us know, or put your question in the chat. Also, is another opportunity to ask your question. We're very casual in our style, and so we really love questions, and just bring them on. Um, First of all, we want to introduce ourselves. I'm Donna Weinkoop, and I'm the coordinator of the Baltimore Women's Business Center at Maryland Capital Enterprises. Um, just to let folks know, before I became a coordinator here at Maryland Capital Enterprises, I was the Baltimore Main Streets director, where I worked with over 2,000 small businesses all across Baltimore City, helping them make their vision for their business a reality. And Nick?
Yes, my name is Nick Rudolph. I am the Baltimore Regional Director with Maryland Capital Enterprises. Much like Donna, I've got a very similar background. We've worked together on and off in jobs for over 20 years. I also worked at Baltimore Main Streets, also with Main Street Maryland, and I am currently with MCE. I also have experience opening up restaurants and managing restaurants as well. So Donna, go right ahead.
Okay, next slide. Before we get started this evening, we want to just give you a little background about who Maryland Capital Enterprises is. We are a nonprofit and a community development financial institution and small business administration approved lender. Excuse me. We have 2 offices in Salisbury and 1 in Baltimore City. Our service area includes the Eastern Shore, Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and Anne Arundel County. We work with both new and existing businesses, and we have 2 women business centers, also 1 in Salisbury and 1 in Baltimore City. Our websites are located at the bottom of this slide, and I encourage you to visit both of them. One is for Maryland Capital, and the other one is for our Women's Business Center. Next slide, please. We have the following 4 certifications, but really, what does that mean to you? It means that we have more pots of money for us to lend to businesses. We also provide free technical assistance, which is at the heart of what we do. That's to small businesses throughout the state of Maryland. And we help with things like writing business plans and cash flows. And this is all for free. We have webinars on a wide variety of topics, such as the one tonight. And we even match clients with experts in the field to do things like websites or advanced accounting. And we do microlending for both new and existing businesses. Now that we've gotten the basics out of the way, we're going to discuss business plans, which is why you're here tonight. So, who needs a business plan? You do. First of all, those business owners with a plan accomplish more than those who don't have one. And think about it. If you know how you're going to get somewhere, if you don't know how you're going to get somewhere, you'll never know where you are going. So really think about it as like a roadmap. If you need funding, you'll need a business plan, whether it is for a grant or a loan. And all Small Business Administration approved lenders require a business plan. What should it contain? We're going to give you a general overview, and then we'll go into the details. I do want to say that this is a living document, and it should be updated regularly. It should clearly describe your business, as if someone not familiar with it can understand what you do. You want to research your industry, your target market, your competition, and what makes your business special. You'll discuss what I call your special sauce, which is really what distinguishes you from other businesses, and demonstrate why your business is necessary. Discuss your business operations, and you'll also discuss how much funding you need and how you will pay for it. I do want to give you a tip that It should be no more than 10 pages maximum. I just sat in on a funder panel with a number of different funders from a number of different banks, and they all echoed the same sentiment. And if you think you're going to go over 10 pages, it's okay to have an internal version and an external version of your business plan that you use. A lot of times people will put graphs or things like that that look really great in their business plan, but aren't necessary really. And we can talk about that when we go into the details of your business plan. And you could also effectively use an addendum in your business plan to add additional information and keep it separate from the, I guess, the meat and potatoes of the 10 pages of the business plan. You want to consider your audience. Can you go back one slide, Nick? Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Consider your audience. Just like a resume, you will tweak your business plan according to who is reading it. Do your research on your lender. What is important to them? Community service, financials maybe. Emphasize this and put it into your plan and make sure it is realistic. It's better to be conservative with your numbers than too bullish. We notice that right away when we're reading a business plan. So definitely take that into consideration as well. Another tip before we get started, there are free resources out there for everyone. Do not pay for any templates. There are free templates out there. We have them. If you would like a free business plan template from us, please just email either one of us. I put our emails in the chat, and they'll also be at the end of this PowerPoint again. We also will provide you with a free cash flow template, which is what Nick is going to go over. You don't need someone to review your existing plans. There are people out there who will look at your existing plans or work with you to free to develop one or both. And we are also willing to read your business plan if you have one already and give you feedback with the, through the eyes of a lender, or help you write one, and we'll hold your hand throughout the entire process. So what should a business plan show? First of all, don't be afraid to let your passion shine through. This is the first thing that I look for when I'm reading a business plan, and I find it really distinguishes business plans one from the other. How did you get started? What do you love about your business? Tell your story, and really don't be afraid to show that. Sorry, I just had a pop-up come up on my PowerPoint. Okay, after the thinking about letting your passion shine through, discuss your experience, any education, any mentorship that you've received, certifications or training. And another tip, include any documentation of this in the back of your business plan in the addendum. Lenders love to see this. So if you took, for example, a class on how to run an independent bookstore or an assisted living facility, and you have certification in that, include that in your addendum and really show your pride in the fact that you took those classes, because believe me, not every person that submits a business plan has done that. You want to include research, include all your research you have done and citations for the research. You want to show where that research came from so that if the lender wants to look up more information about it, they can by going to the citation. It is your responsibility to demonstrate your understanding of your industry and your target customers. And I just want to give an example here. We had a client where they said that they were going to do wedding invitations for the entire state of Maryland. And so they did not narrow down their target customer clearly enough, because they're not going to do, it's not realistic to do wedding invitations for every single wedding in the state of Maryland in a year. One business can't handle that amount of business. So you really want to narrow down your target customer as much as possible. And a tip here is to drill down your research as much as you can. Think about state, think about local. So for example, if you're in Baltimore City, try to look at research for Baltimore City specifically, or your county specifically, or your town specifically. What are your contingency plans? And you must include an ask. What do you want from the reader? So if you're looking for a loan, you need to make the ask, and don't be afraid to make it, because that's what we're looking for anyway. How much money does this person want, and what are they going to use it for? There's no reason to be afraid to ask for the money. You need the money to run your business. We understand that. Put it right up front. Okay, first we're going to talk about the executive summary. Next slide, please. Okay, the executive summary, now we're going into the details of what goes into the business plan. The executive summary is the first thing people see. And for some people, it's easier to write last for some reason because it is a summary of what you wrote in your business plan. I always write it first, but for a lot of people, it is a lot easier to write at the end because it is the summary of the entire business plan. So whatever works for you, go ahead and do it. In the introduction, you want to include just the facts, your business name, your structure. So if you're an LLC or a sole proprietorship, um, whatever your business structure is, that's what you want to include. You want to talk about your ownership, your exact business address. I can't tell you how many people miss this. So you want to put your address in the business plan, the age of the business, and the ask, which is what we just talked about. I would put it right in the first or second paragraph of your executive summary. Say who your business is, Nick's Pickles, Nick Still Pickles. He's going to talk about his business, Nick Still Pickles, shortly with his cash flows. Located at 1234 Ryder Road in Baltimore, Maryland. And we are seeking $35,000 for pickling supplies and working capital. Put it right there. We'll give you more details about all that later. And you also want to tell your story in the executive summary. This is where you let your passion shine through. How did you get the idea for your business and what do you love about it? Give a brief description of your business. What makes it special? Do you have extended hours? Do you serve a greater geographic location than your competition? What's your special sauce? And then a detailed ask goes into the end of the executive summary. What do you want? If it's funding, how will you use the funds? And this is where you want to do a line item breakdown that adds up to the total value of the loan. Next slide, please. Then you're going to include your marketing plan. All the research that we talked about goes here in this section. You want to describe your industry, your target customer base, explain your costs and pricing policy, explain your costs both to you and to your customer. So for example, if you make widgets, how much does it cost to you to make one widget? If you sell hot dogs, how much does it cost to you to sell a hot dog to a customer? You should be able to break that down. Explain your marketing strategy. For some, this may be a social media plan, or for others, it may be in person and very limited. It may be going door to door. Maybe if you have an assisted living facility, you might be visiting hospitals to get your clients, or other facilities like that. I will say though that I recently attended another panel and they said that having a social media plan is not enough for marketing. So you want to definitely expand that section and really think about how you're going to get the word out about your business. And then what's your competitive edge? What is your special sauce that we talked about? You want to do your market research. Is there room for you in the market? For example, if there's 7 pizza places in your neighborhood, the 8th is your responsibility to demonstrate the need for your business. And you want to consider your target market. Narrow this down as much as possible. Local, state, regional information. Consider items such as socioeconomic status, education level, spending patterns, and you need to also talk about your competition. You'll need at least 3 competitors and do a comparison contrast analysis. You want to include your pricing. What is your pricing? Is it high, middle, or low, and why? Advertising. How will you get the word out? You want to really go into detail as much as possible. And like I said, having a social media plan is not enough anymore. You really need to expand that section. Next slide, please. Organization and operations. You're really going to go into detail here in this section. You want to first talk about your structure. Your legal structure, are you an LLC, an S corp, sole proprietorship, etc.? Your location, where is it? And you see, this is where you're taking this information and you're summarizing it back in your executive summary. So this is where the detailed information is and the summary goes up front. So again, where's your location? What are your hours? Employees. And a little tip here, any top management personnel that you already know about, put their resumes in the addendum. That's a strength for your business plan. They bring a strength to your business. Maybe you have someone who's going to manage your cosmetics store and they have extensive experience doing retail management. You want to put their resume in the addendum of the business plan and really showcase that. You want to discuss the number of employees you plan to hire, both full-time and part-time. Break that down. You'll talk about the insurance that you need. For most, that'll be general liability, and that'll be enough. But do your research and talk to an insurance agent. And another tip, anything specialized, put a copy of it in your addendum because lenders will look for that information. Thank you. Consider the following. You'll need, I cannot see my screen at all, Nick. I'm just letting you know that. There we go. Okay. So can you go back one slide, please, Nick? Thank you. So you also want to talk about your growth. You'll need a 3 to 5 year plan. Will you expand? And if so, when and how? You'll need an exit strategy. Are you going to sell the business or pass it on to family and friends? And you want to talk about your contingency plans. Specifically, you want to also discuss COVID-19. And this is somewhat relatively new for business plans and for businesses, but you want to talk about your policy for COVID-19 and what would happen if your business were to close temporarily or permanently. Next slide, please. Okay, financial plan. The details. How much money will you need and how will you get it? This is where we want to hear about it. A tip for this section is you want to disclose any other loans or grants that you're receiving or have applied for. How much of your own money have you invested? You want to discuss that. For many of you, you've put money already into your business. Add that up and put that in your business plan. That shows that you have skin in the game already, and that's a strength for a lender. Estimate your income and expenses for the next 2 to 3 years. Your research. This does not need to be written in stone. You're just estimating here what your expenses are for the next 2 to 3 years. This is where you will begin to prepare to create your cash flow projections, which Nick will walk us through shortly. Items to consider: startup costs for new businesses, and for existing businesses, you want to think about your profit and loss statement, your last quarter's balance sheet, and information on existing loans and debt. As I said, you need to project 2 to 3 years into the future. And you're projecting into the future. So this is where you need to do your research and call BG&E and find out how much, the electric bill costs, and figure out how much your phone is going to cost and things of that nature. Credit. Most CDFIs are personally guaranteed. So it will go on your personal credit, and we look at your personal credit score. As a tip, you want to discuss any issues that may show up on a credit report with your loan counselor, and you'll have an opportunity, if necessary, to write a letter of explanation to the loan committee members when they are considering your loan application. You might need a guarantor, someone who will ensure the loan will be paid if you cannot pay it. Now Nick is going to discuss cash flow projections in detail. Nick?
Oh, sorry about that. Just took a second to get the mute off. Thank you, everybody. Before we go in, I just want to see if there were any questions. There was one from the chat while you're thinking, which was, how do you handle business you paused and re-entered the marketplace with a new offering. Same name, similar focus, but different. Registered it locally this year, abandoned the one that was in Ohio in 2015, but kept the EIN. So I would suggest that you talk with one of us directly, or with your local small business development center, SBDC. There's one in each county. We'll talk a little bit more about them later. There are advantages and disadvantages to both. Sometimes being a business for a longer amount of time lets you get access to larger loan amounts. But moving a business from Ohio might be complicated. I've never done that from Ohio, so I don't know. But this could be an offline conversation. We can do a little bit more research as well. Feel free to contact either me or Donna. And then it looks like we have somebody with their hand raised. I can't see exactly who that is, but go ahead
Danette.
and unmute yourself and go ahead and ask that question.
Good evening. My name is Danette Postel.
Hi,
Good evening.
Thank you for coming.
Hi. So, my only question was, if this is a startup business and we have yet to acquire a space, are we using our home address in the where you mentioned to not forget to put the address in?
Yes, and if you are planning on opening the business in a different county, mention that in the business plan. Just say, let's say
Okay.
you live in Baltimore City but want to open up a storefront in Anne Arundel County. Just mention that and say that you haven't found the exact location yet.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All righty, yay, questions. I like that a lot. So what we're going to do is talk a little bit about cash flow projections, what they are and why we need them, and then we're going to go through and do a cash flow together. It's a lot of fun. It's also a little bit complicated. It is good to know that this presentation will be put up on YouTube, so you can watch it again and pause it, because if we go too slow, we'll go way over time. But cash flow projections are a huge part of your loan application and also of good governance for your business. So basically, they're going to show you how much money is coming in and how much money you expect to come out. And you can figure out things like if you're going to make a profit, which is very important for your business. So there's a few things before we get started that I'd like to say about cash flows. First of all, it is a living document. It is going to change. Not only are not all of the cells going to be accurate, most likely the vast majority are not going to be accurate. We just want to know that you have an idea of where you are. Like Donna said, you want to be realistic and not too bullish. Show that you can do well in a worst case scenario, and if things are better, you'll just make money. You want to include different income streams, and we'll go into that a little bit in the cash flows. But if you're something like a restaurant, you might want to break down dine-in, carry-out, and catering, or food and liquor. Depending on your business, you might look at different streams of income. The reason why you want to do that is then you can check and see, based on your projections, what's doing well and what might need a little bit of help. Or if something is doing so well and something is doing so poorly, you might want to just focus on the thing that's doing really well. You want to think about also how your sales change month to month. If you're a landscaper, you're probably going to do a lot more work in the spring, summer, and fall than you are in the winter. But if you're a plumber, you're probably going to be working year round, with similar amounts coming in each month. And then we do want to make sure that you are paying yourself. Part of being a business is making jobs, including one for yourself, and you need to be able to have a roof over your head, clothes, food, medicine, and some money for having some fun. I'm having a little technical problem. Let's see here. There we go. So why do you need cash flows? That's a big, intimidating spreadsheet. And if you don't need them, why do them? So first of all, they're going to be required for most loans, SBA, CDFI, and truthfully traditional banks. It's a planning tool. It shows when you got a profit and when you can take money out for yourself. And again, it's good governance. It's a good way to check and see that you're meeting your marks of where you thought you would be with your small business. So to get started, you're going to need a template. We're going to go ahead and use ours, but we won't be offended if when you turn in a loan application, either to us or somebody else, that you use a different template. We just find that this one is pretty simple. But if you find one you're more comfortable with, go ahead and use that. You need to know how much money you have in the bank for the business. Most startups that we deal with have $0 in the bank at that point in time. So if that's where you're at, don't worry. You want to think about all of your income, all of your expenses. We're going to talk a little bit about what those might be, including payroll, your loan, and your loan payments. Those are income and expenses. And then if you're selling something, or if you have something where there's inventory, you want to think about what your markup is, how much money you're making, for each dollar of inventory that you have purchased. So now we're going to go ahead and do the template. So I'm going to stop the PowerPoint for just a moment. And then I'm going to bring up our template. This is going to be for a business that does not exist. This is a completely fake business. It's Nick's Dills. I love pickles, so I invented a fake business that makes pickles. We're starting off with a blank spreadsheet here. So you'll see here at the top, you've got cash on hand and your months of the year. I have a January fiscal year, but whatever month your fiscal year starts, go ahead and do that. So this should say income here. This is your different streams of income and then your loan. That's the money that's coming in each month. Then you're going to start talking about what's going out. What's your inventory? What are your wages? What services do you have? Storage, advertising, distribution, accounting, legal, all of that kind of stuff. If you have a storefront, rent, all kinds of stuff, your insurance, your taxes. And then we've got some more things that are more fixed, right? So you are going to have our loan. You may have another loan from somewhere else. There's going to be startup costs if you're starting a business. You might want to save some money as a repair reserve if you've got equipment. And then your owner's draw is going to be how much money you take out. This highlighted box here shows you at the end of the 1 year how much money you're going to have left in the bank. So let's do a little math on my small business. So cash on hand, I got lucky and hit a scratch off and have $1,000 that I can spend on my business. So how am I going to sell my pickles? Well, mostly I think I'm going to be selling it at farmers markets. I'm going to go to the one, I'm in Baltimore City. So I'm going to go to the one in Waverly and the one downtown when it is open. I'm also going to sell wholesale to restaurants. And then I will sell online a little bit so friends and family can buy, or maybe will become a big brand. This is a part-time business. I'm keeping my full-time job. This is just to make a little bit more money doing something that I love, turning my hobby into a side hustle. So I'm going to ask for a loan of $15,000. So with that, let's see what we're going to do and how much money we're going to make and what our expenses are going to be. So first, let's talk about money coming in. So I am thinking that, at first I'm going to really focus on the farmers markets and the online sales. But it's February, and I'm getting that $15,000 now. It's going to take me a little bit of time to get the pickles made. And, it's not really the best time of the year for farmers markets, but March is when it starts to get a little bit nicer. And this is one day a week on Saturdays. It's, only for 5 hours. So I figure, in that first month, let's say I'll do $2,000 worth of pickles. I'm not going to restaurants yet, but I'm probably going to have $500 in sales from friends and family who want to support me. Now, April, the second farmers market starts to open up. The weather is really starting to get nicer. There's more opportunities for money. The Under the Bridge farmers market is considerably bigger. So maybe in April, I'll make $6,000. Because I've been in that first farmers market, a restaurant owner has talked to me, and I've got my first wholesale client for $250. And I think my online sales are going to stay pretty much at $500 a month throughout the whole year. So I'll go ahead and copy that over. So now, I think that maybe my name will be getting out. So we'll do a little bit of growth. So for each of these, warm weather months, I'm going to move it up $1,000 a month. But I don't think I'm going to get much more than $10,000 a month because it's a part-time operation. November, the weather's not so great. There's not going to be as much people going out. December, it is the holiday, so it might bring it up a bit. And then January is probably going to be a big drop. People don't have a lot of money. There's only the one farmer's market. And so it's just going to be a slow month. And then I want to add one restaurant a month at $250. That's going to get, not only some more product out there, but if people like the pickles and they ask the restaurant, then that might create some more clients for me. So let me just get this in here. Alrighty, so we've got my first year income in here. And so with the $15,000 loan, I've got about $118,000 in income. So next what we're going to do is talk about how we're going to break down the expenses, and exactly, how much money we're going to be bringing in. And that way we'll be able to figure out exactly what we're going to spend or what we're going to make. So cash paid out, first inventory. So this is an opportunity to do a calculation in your spreadsheet. I know, like, of course, this is not a real, a real business, but I know that, let's just say that it costs, 25 cents for each dollar that I sell. So I'm going to go up here on the formula bar. My first row with money in it is row 13. So I change that 20 to 13, put in the little semicolon, and then the last row where I've got income, not including the loan, would be 17 in case I do get some more streams of income later on. Second. And then what I'll do is I'm going to multiply that total by 25%, by 0.25. And then if I carry that across to all 12 months, we'll see that about a quarter of my sales is going to pay for the food. Now, wages. This would be something where I'd most likely hire contractors, but just for the sake of making it easy, these are going to be W-9 employees. So I'm going to have to pay payroll taxes. Now that first month, it's going to be just me, but then it's going to get a little bit busier. So probably $300 a day, 2 days. That's going to be $600 a month. I'll carry that through as long as both farmers markets are open, and then bring it down to $300 for that January when the second one isn't open. The payroll, we're just assuming at 10% here. So now we'll talk about other expenses. And as a small business, there's not a whole ton of them for one as small as this one, but office supplies. That's paper, printer ink, staples, staplers, scissors, all that kind of fun stuff. It's probably be a $500 upfront cost, and maybe once during the year I'll have to re-up some of that for $250. Don't need to worry about storage, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. Advertising, I do want to get the word out. So maybe I'll start at $100 a month for social media ads, things like that. And then maybe, once the word gets out, I can bring that down a little bit to $50 a month. Distribution, if I'm selling it online, they're paying for their own shipping. If not, we're doing it right at the, point of sale. So accounting, I don't have an accountant, but I'm going to say $50 a month each for an accountant and a lawyer in case I need them. Probably will need an accountant to do my taxes. And the lawyer is just in case I need it. Now for rent. I'm not able to make all these pickles in my house, but Baltimore has a lot of shared kitchens. There's one in Locust Point that's about $500 a month if you're only doing it in the evenings, which since I'm keeping my day job, that's what I'm going to do. So I will keep that there, and that is inclusive of utilities, so I don't need to worry about that. I will add a line to my phone plan at $30 a month, so that there's a specific line just for the business. Like I said, there's no utilities. This is a small business. It doesn't have a lot of room of risk, so I figured this will probably be about a $1,200 a year insurance. The taxes, other than sales tax, which is paid by the customer, what we're talking about here is really the registration fees for the business, and that's $300 a year. And there's no professional fees in there. Then we're going to start talking about the loan payment. I'm going to assume that this is going to be $15,000 over 3 years at 8% interest, which is $470 a month. Not going to pay it in the first month that I get the loan because that's just how that works. But I'm going to start in the second case, the second month. Sometimes you don't start paying until the third month. But again, we're looking at a worst case scenario here. So I don't have a food truck, so this would just be an other, and I don't have that. Now the startup cost, I need to buy some pickling, vats or canning vats or whatever they're called, some jars, some labels. So that's going to be about $10,000 of the $15,000. And then, it's the first year, hopefully nothing will break. I'm keeping my job, so I'm not going to pay myself. And we'll see here at the end of year one, I've got $61,388 left to play with. So my expenses that are sort of variable come out to about 42.7, and then the rest, including the $10,000 startup, is about another $15,000. So now what we'll do is show how to do this into year two. So you go to you select all, and you copy it. You make a second sheet that's blank, and you paste everything that you just did into there. And of course, this time it's going to be mean and make me have to do this. Oh, that's what's wrong. It didn't get the whole thing. Sorry about that. All right, there we go. So what we do then is we just change a few things around. So I've got that was a 71 now. What happened there? Well, we'll just play this with this number because it's not a real number right now. So 71,388 is how much I have in the bank to start. I am not going to have a loan this year because I'm not going to need it. I'll do a little bit better in February than I did in January, a little bit better in March. And then things have grown a bit, so I will also grow a bit to that $10,000 a month. And then, the restaurants will still be selling to, and we'll max that out at $3,000 a month. And I'm going to keep the online sales at $500 a month. Then I'll look down. I am going to need to have employees for those first 2 months in the second year. And all of my other expenses up here are going to be the same. I need to add an extra loan payment. Oh, sorry about that. I need to add an extra loan payment here. And then I see here at the end, I've got $155,000 in the bank, so I can start paying myself. Let's do $4,000 a month. So I'm making myself a cool $48,000 extra, and I've got 107 in the bank to grow the business if I decide I want to take it full time. So we're going to talk a little bit more about, about cash flows in just a moment. But while the cash flows are up on the screen, I just wanted to see if there are any questions. Okay, we can always pull it back up. If we need to. Okay, so bring back up the PowerPoint. And Donna, is the PowerPoint back up on your screen?
It is.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Been having some tech problems. So let's talk about some common pitfalls to try to avoid. So first, many people forget to take that number from the end of the year and have it as your cash on hand at the beginning of the year. Make sure you bring that, or it looks like you're starting at zero again, which could blow up your cash flows. You want to make sure that you're taking enough of an owner's withdrawal to survive and have a good life, but not so much that you're killing your business. You want to make sure that you've got money in there for your accountants, your legal, and your advertising. Sometimes businesses will have a negative cash flow in the first few months, but if after 6, 12, 18 months you're still not making money, you might want to look about how your business runs. Again, you want to keep your loan in as income and your payments as expenses. And as we talked before, we want to make sure not to have unrealistic expectations. And then I just got a question about, will we share the template? Absolutely. I'll send it. Hopefully it'll come out to everybody. If it doesn't, our emails are in the chat, and then we'll also be on the last slide. Email either one of us and we'll send it right to you. That includes folks who are watching on YouTube as well. So let's talk about funding, because the reason you're doing all this is to get a loan. So we want to talk briefly about how you get a loan from a CDFI. So first, you're going to have to do some sort of intake. Ours is done online. Other places have, things that you need to fill out in an office. But that's going to get some demographic information. Say if you're a new business or an existing business, and if you're an existing business, a little bit about how your business is doing. We then have our business loan applications. That's where you're making the ask. You're talking about what you're going to do with the money, a little bit about the history and the ownership of your business, and what we call the personal information supplement. Anybody who owns 20% or more of the business will need to fill out one of these. This is going to be a simplified personal financial statement, assets and liability, employment history, monthly expenses, things like that. Then you will need some supporting documents. So first and most importantly, you will need your cash flow, your business plan and cash flow projections. We require 24 months, but if you can do 36, that's even better. We'll also looking for, if you have any credit issues, you want to make sure that explanation of credit is in there. So if you've been turned down for a loan before, let us know that. That's this part of some of the SBA requirements. If your business exists, it has been around for a year, give us some profit and loss statements, show us your most recent quarterly balance sheet, and federal tax returns for the last 2 years, assuming your business has been around that long. You also will need 2 years of personal taxes for anybody who owns 20% of the business. That's what's required. One more thing that's required are 3 months of bank statements, personal and business, if the business bank statements exist. Everything else is not required, but it's super duper helpful. So reference letters. So if you've got folks who are, willing to say, that you were a great student, that you were great working with them, things like that are helpful. Your resume is helpful. Things like if you have a lease, if you've got estimates for build out or equipment, contracts that you've got coming in, anything that's going to tell your story. If your website is up, if your social media is up, send us all of that stuff. If you produced an awesome video, make sure that we can see that and show it to our decision makers. So, who is eligible, and then how do you apply, and what are we looking for? So we're looking for that thorough business plan. We're looking to see that you have experience in the field, and if you don't have experience, that you have a mentor. We're looking for the strength of your cash flow. Our loans, as you'll see in a moment, some of them do require collateral. We want to see the strength of the collateral. Real estate is better than automobiles, but we can get really creative with what collateral is. We're looking for reasonable credit. As you can see here, for us, this is not the same with all CDFIs. We do not have a minimum credit score. What we're looking at is what you've been doing in the last 12 to 18 months with 2 disqualifiers. One is having a bankruptcy discharged in the last 24 months, and the other one is having a tax debt without a business plan. If there are dings on your credit, as Donna said, you can write an explanation. We're coming out of a pandemic where a lot of people lost jobs and family members, or you had illnesses that could impact your credit in a way that doesn't show who you are as a borrower. So if something like that happened, just bring it up right at the beginning, and then we can write a letter to explain what's going on. We're also looking for the general economic conditions for the venture. So is there room for you in the marketplace? If you are opening up a pizza shop on a block with 5 pizza shops, you're going to have to show us that there's room for you in the marketplace. And then, of course, your ability to repay the loan. If the business is not successful, can you get back in the workforce and pay off that loan? The last thing we want to do is take anybody's collateral. So we're getting pretty close to the end, so I will go ahead and speed this part up. If you want to talk about specific loans with us, again, reach out. But most of our loans, our most common ones, are small business ones. If you've been around for 2 years or less, you can go up to $35,000. If you've been around for 2 full years or more, you can go up to $150,000. The terms will be 1 to 10 years, depending on the loan size. 35,000 is probably 5 or 6 years, 50 is probably 7 years, and anything more than 100 is 10 years. While our rates can vary from 6 to 12%, when you get the loan, it is a fixed rate. Generally, our loans lately have been going out at about 8%. Collateral is required for these loans. It doesn't necessarily have to be the full amount, but that's always helpful. Talk to us about that. If you are using a house, we are going to need an appraisal done in the last 12 months. If you do not have one, do not order the appraisal until your loan is approved. Anybody who owns 20% of the business is going to have to personally guarantee the loan. The application fee is $100 plus 25 per person for a credit report fee. We do a TransUnion soft pull that does not impact your credit score. And then there are closing costs based on the size of the loan. Most folks who get a $50,000 loan will walk out with somewhere just north of $48,000. We do automatic payments for your loan from your bank account that we put the money into. There is no penalty for prepayment. But if you cannot make a payment, let us know at least a week ahead of time and we'll work something out. Defer payment, interest only, restructure the loan. Because these loans are personally guaranteed, we want to help you build your credit score. So what can you use the loans for? All kinds of things, anything business related. Except for a few very small things. If you're home-based, we cannot pay your rent or utilities. If you are in the business where you are buying property to rehab and either rent or sell, we cannot pay for the property or for the rehab of the properties. But if you need a truck or if you need, an electric saw, equipment like that, we can absolutely do that. We can't do nails and drywall and things like that that aren't reusable. And then other than that, the only type of businesses that we really can't work with are those traditional sin industries, adult bookstores, only tobacco, only liquor, things like that. But we are able to work in the cannabis industry, both recreational and medical. So that is something that we can work with both with technical assistance and lending. We also have a smaller loan called a credit builder. This one does not require collateral. It's up to $5,000. It's a 2-year term at 9%. The fees are much smaller at a $50 application and $75 closing costs. This is for folks with poor or no credit, folks who are thinking about turning that hobby into a side hustle, or if you have an existing business and something goes wrong and you need money a little bit more quickly than our normal loans can do. This is if a tree root grows through a pipe, something like that. We can usually turn these around a little quicker. So before I hand it over to Donna, I like to say these 5 things in every one of my presentations. When you're applying for business capital, number 1, do not quit your day job. They want to see that you're going to be able to have income coming in. Number 2, unless you are an accountant, in fact, even if you are an accountant, you will need an outside accountant. When you are opening and running a business, you're going to be in the weeds. It's going to be tough and hard, and it's going to be easy to miss deadlines. Your accountant will make sure that never happens. Number 3, you're already doing it. Ask for help. There is nowhere better in Maryland for free assistance for small businesses. Talk to all of us. Talk to every free nonprofit you can. Find out all the information in there. We are all partners. We are not competitors. If somebody tells you not to talk to other folks, that should be the red flag. Most of us are funded through your taxpayer dollars anyway, so you've already paid for it. Take advantage of it. Put your money in the bank. What that means is when you're looking for a business loan, it's not the time to buy a car, to buy a house, to open up credit cards, things like that. You want to make sure that you're showing that you're being responsible with your money and that you're not accruing a lot of debt as you're opening your business. And then number 5, no business is an island. Be part of your community. Give the local charities. Join your local chamber or Rotary or Main Street. Support that softball team. But unfortunately, we do live in a world that is a little politically, dangerous. So what we say is try to do only charities that are non-political at all. So things like kids, animals, veterans, food banks, things like that. And the reason why is the same reason why bars show sports. If they had just Fox News on or just CNN on, they would immediately alienate half of the people who walk in the business. And a Democrat and a Republican's dollars spend exactly the same. I like to say that unless you have a political business, nobody who walks in should know who you vote for, because you want to keep your personal life and your business life separate. And with that, I'll hand it over to Donna to close us out.
Thanks, Nick. So we've talked about a lot of information that you're going to need. And we wanted to leave you with some resources to get that information. So one thing that's good to know about these resources is that they are free, and free is for me, I like to say. So definitely reach out to a lot of these folks. A few I'd like to point out here: Operation Hope in Baltimore. They actually have a cohort class where you complete a business plan as part of the process. They help you with your finances, if your credit needs a little work. They're a really great nonprofit to work with. The Small Business Administration has a program called Lender Match. You can just Google search that, and that will put you in touch with lenders in your area that are Small Business Administration approved. And SCORE is another great organization. You can get a mentor for any type of business that you're thinking of running for free there, and they will work with you. They have successfully run a business, and they will work with you for free and help you and train you up and answer all your questions that you may have. So there's lots of different organizations here to help you get started or expand your business. Next slide. Okay, as I said at the beginning of our presentation, the heart of what we do is our free technical assistance. And so I wanted to talk about a few of our upcoming webinars that we have available. There are a few here of note that I want to point out. We're having a First Steps of Starting Your Own Business on March 6th. It's a really great presentation for anybody who's thinking of starting a business in Maryland. We'll really go over the importance of credit and specific business requirements for Maryland. Also, if you're a woman-owned small business, we're going to have you can join us to learn about certification as a woman-owned small business, and that's for any female entrepreneurs who are interested in getting into government contracting. You'll learn about your program benefits, requirements, and qualifications, how to apply, things of that nature. So all of these are really great. I encourage you to go to our website, which is marylandcapital.org. And if you go to the education tab, it will take you to all of our upcoming webinars. We have a lot of them coming up right now. And I encourage you to check back often because we're constantly adding new classes. It looks like we have a few questions, which actually we're at the questions part anyway, so that works out great. But before we get into the questions, I just want to remind everybody that we have free business plan templates and cash flow templates. If you are interested in receiving one of those, please email either myself or Nick, and we will be happy to get it to you. They are absolutely free, and you can use them to your heart's content. And also, if you need help with either your business plan or cash flow projections, we are also available to either look at existing business plans or help you get started with your business plan or your cash flows. So with that, we will open it up for questions. And I just want to thank everyone for being here this evening.
So while folks are thinking about questions in the chat, I copied and pasted our contact information in case you wanted to pull it out of there. Any other questions? All righty, I think that'll be it then. So thank you all very much for attending today. It's been great talking with you and working with you. It's so much fun and gives us so much energy to talk to folks about starting businesses. Take advantage of all the free webinars, like Donna said, and reach out to us with any questions that you ever have. Donna, any closing words?
I want to remind folks that you will get a copy of the PowerPoint this evening. This will also be posted on YouTube, as Nick said, so you'll be able to take a look at the video.